Hello, beautiful friends. So this reading was actually recorded for the first transmission for my Patreons, and actually the info that kind of came through was so crucial that I asked them permission if I can share this in public on YouTube. So they all said yes, they are happy to share the video. So I'm putting this up. I hope you enjoyed this crucial kind of transmission that's coming through at this time. And yeah, like as you could see, I get super casual. My settings and vibes are super casual, but hope you enjoy the reading, and I will see you soon. Okay, talk to you soon. Hope you enjoy. Hello, beautiful family of light, source tree family. Welcome to your September reading. Right now I'm on a production trip to up north of Ubud, so that's where I'm at. So it looks like you're camping out with me here. I kind of really like this setup, but I'm only here until tomorrow. And I'm gonna do your reading. I brought your cards because I love to conduct your readings at different high frequency locations because it's actually transmitting the grid of this actual place. So that's actually why I bothered to bring all these cards with me for you guys. Okay, so while I shuffle the cards, please kindly, and it does make a huge difference if you do this, close your eyes, tune into your heart center, ground your energy, and reach up to your soul star, your higher council, and the source field of your own creation. Okay, September. Prominent energies for September for my tribe. Black Shuck. This is the devil. Some shadow work going on for everybody. Weaver of Visions. 3 of Spells. Nine of Boons. 8 of Spells. Ten. 6. Okay, so this is an energy of you being able to tune into this level of self-fulfillment and a cycle of manifestation actually that really happened quickly for you, and it does still happen very quickly for you. And this is what you've tapped into. It's like, oh, that glare is your ability to really, really create high speed manifestations. That's because your vibrations are increasing. The higher frequency you are, the faster your kind of manifestations come through, even though that's not really a word that is of the most accurate description of what really does happen when we create and arrange our environment to our conscious and subconscious and unconscious will. So at this point, what I'm seeing is that you're getting a new kind of vision. And this is like a really kind of shy energy. This is the cups, but actually in this deck, it's called visions for a reason. It's because you are starting out a new, it's almost like very hopeful. And this is an emotional kind of fulfillment for you, even deeper so than before. It's a deeper fulfillment, but you are starting this new cycle, and this is for the long run. This is like your 3-year plan, basically 3 years ahead. And what I'm seeing from this energy is to keep in mind when you are starting out this new cycle, how fast you're able to manifest now. So you might be comparing, for instance, this new vision that you have, this new unfolding that you're wishing to create, and you are kind of gauging the time cycle as to when you were trying this before, when you were trying this kind of thing before. And the truth is that you are so much higher in frequency now that everything kind of manifests instantaneously. Actually, it does manifest instantaneously. And the only difference between that instant manifestation and when something seems like it's actually moving is that actually imagine that you're focused on this present moment, and then you have this projection or like a cognitive projection of how the rest of the world really is, right? And then when you tune into a certain level of frequency and then you create a more idealized version of that reality, it actually is there then. For instance, let's say from this video where I'm sitting here, I'm here, but I'm simultaneously tapping into a higher state, then what is a probable kind of way that it works? And I'm saying it's probable because not everyone needs to agree with me or needs to buy into this story or interpretation of what really occurs, but what matters is it's opening up your mind, right? So if I'm sitting here and outside there's all this happening with the society and COVID, and I'm tuning into a higher state of consciousness, and I'm creating a society that's at peace now, it's actually there. But I'm still at home, and I'm not really looking at what's going on. And then when I go back out, because I expect the things to be the same and eventually bring it back down where I was before, which is natural. It's a cycle. You don't just, if you haven't noticed, you create kind of scenarios and situations, and especially if you're very high frequency, you create signposts that actually get your hopes up, and then it actually ends up flopping, and maybe that happens a few times, but that's actually because it's like stretching the frequency of all levels, like mind, emotions, and body. So maybe your mind was ready to take on that opportunity or take on that relationship, but then maybe your emotions weren't ready, or maybe your body wasn't ready. So it goes like up and down until you finally are ready. And it takes those few trials to be ready for that. And so what would actually happen too is like the rest of the world can be completely high frequency for that time being that you are completely tuned up. But then when you cycle back down to the previous state where you left it, then the world goes back to the way it was before, and then you go out and then things are the same. Also because you're kind of projecting it to be the same. You have this linear timeline of like, okay, it's been a day. There's no way that the world is like a golden age right now, right? Or no way that my bank account has 8 figures in it right now. Whereas before, when you're tuned into that high state, that was really, really quantum crashing into that reality. But then you come back down to the same way it was before. But that's not a bad thing, because it's allowing you to experience this unfathomable linear structure that is impossible, that is nearly impossible for you while you're an infinite being, but you're actually doing that. Great, right? But what I want to point out is this is credits to Bashar and Daryl Anka. And Phil, if you're watching this, he actually won the Herbs Challenge. And then you reached out to me through Patreon about the Bashar video that I mentioned before. And so because I had to grab you the link, I had to go back to Bashar's website, right? And I never go and like buy all these things from Bashar. Like I don't resonate with him all the time. Like I love his content, but like I won't go and like buy stuff from his site. But because I had to grab you that link that one time that I bought one course, I saw another thing that completely resonated with me, which is a series of numbers. It's like 1, 3, 5, 7, 11. And it was a fabulous content. And there he, and I don't even watch the Q&A. As I said, he does the transmissions and then he does Q&A, but like I watched a couple of the questions and I didn't watch the rest. But one of the questions he says, when your life is cycling through, you know, creation cycles and you know, pattern cycles, it looks always like, you know, like up and down, up and down, up and down. But it's never up and down, up and down, up and down. It's always up and down, 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 up and down. So it's always escalating, but it when you dip here, it feels like it was here because it's the similar patterns. So that's another thing I think what you need to realize is if you feel like you fell off, and for instance, if you're giving up a negative habit or you're facing your shadow sides, which is something you are going through, and a lot of it has to do with balancing the physical realm, and, you know, feeling like you can't truly tap into this prosperity internal interface, which definitely something that I want to talk about. In that, and I'm, you know, the way that I stream transmissions is so erratic that I hope that you can stay with me, but I can't help that my thoughts jump from different galaxies to different spheres, and that's just like literally the nature of my cognitive patterns. It's pretty everywhere. But since you've been listening to me for all these months, I think you're okay with that. And probably you have the same kind of pattern of thinking. So 10 of Pentacles, and what I really want to point out here, and I've done a few different prosperity activations on my Patreon, and they are really powerful, is that, you know, at the end of the day, it's not about any of the outer resources that you perceive, but that sense of security that you feel and the trust that you feel about your own human experience. And essentially your prosperity, especially during this tumultuous economic times, will directly reflect the attention or the level of consciousness that you're able to ground into this physical body. So like, how much of that pure consciousness can you assimilate into your 3D reality, not 4D, not 5D, not 6D, which you're more comfortable, but 3D. So cellular sensations. Like if you ever been to Vipassana and like do these really intensive body scans where you have to scan your body for days, that's the kind of thing which is your actual prosperity, because it's under the matrix of time and space. And this physical prosperity is that energy under the matrix of time and space. The monetary system or the economic system is a shared energy between the collective under time and space. So if you want that outer reflection to be limitless, which your higher consciousness is, then you need to learn how to embody that level of highest consciousness into your physical 3D realm, which not everybody is comfortable with, but you will. You will learn how to do it and you'll do it. You will do it. There's no other way. Because you will do it. Like if you decide you're going to do that, you're going to do that, right? And that's the thing with the higher abilities too, is you don't really need to work on all these like third eye perception and like psychic abilities, because that's all coded within your dormant structure as your starseed self and your biggest gifts. It could be different from other people's, but it's there, and it's there until the best thing you can do is to embody your higher level consciousness into like your physical reality, right? So that attention to details to this physical realm, down to your bones, your blood flow, like your sensations on your like energetic cycles on your physical plane, as well as your environmental sphere, because if you're on that certain level of consciousness, you can feel your environment as if it's your body. Like you can actually feel the energy, you know what I mean? So that's one thing. And then the next thing that I want to add is the psychic abilities. Like if you just learn to scan scan your body, like that body scan, and maybe that's what I will do. Okay, that, like, I always get the idea for the activation of the month from that, but I'll do an intensive body scan for this month's activation. Okay, so other than that, do I need to add anything else? No. But I think the first thing that I want to do when COVID is over and things are neutralized is definitely go to a Vipassana retreat. And I recommend the same for you. But thankfully I have a silent retreat center here that's not Vipassana, but Vipassana, that setting is just like, deserves like the Nobel Prize, in my opinion. There's a lot of conflicting opinions about that. Like, I remember when one of the teachers, Bentino Massaro, was like, oh, Vipassana is useless. A lot of people who haven't tried it will say it's useless, or like that they could be using that facility to be teaching something more effective, but there's a reason why that's there, and it really is great. And it's not something that you can just learn. If you haven't been to the 10-day retreat, Vipassana is not a technique that you can just learn by trying at home. It's because you actually need that environment. You need that 10-day silent environment. But to be fair, I've met tons of people who've gone to like dozens of Vipassana retreats for 10 days. And I know people who've been in Vipassana retreats for years, like the month-long ones all over the world, but they still didn't get the point, you know? So the closest thing to that you can do at home would be non-dual meditation that I always like preach. And what else? I can't remember. Sorry. Yeah, I can't remember. Sorry. Non-dual meditation. Okay. Five of Visions. Yeah, this is the Five of Cups. So, you know, here's something important. So this is you coming out of this disappointment cycle, right? And this is heavily related to your kind of hopeful weaver of visions, like this hopeful energy. There's a bit of vulnerability that I sense with this. It's like you feel vulnerable with this, like you feel afraid and vulnerable, and part of it is because you fear regret, and you had this kind of thing before where you really tried and things didn't come to fruition. But you know, you're getting programmed out of this kind of disappointment or regret as an emotion. And I feel that for a lot of people who are tuned into this, regret is one of their most fearful emotions. Like perhaps it has to do with past lives or your star lineage. I feel a strong pull with this, like disappointment, regret energy is linked to those who are really related to the Pleiadian constellation. And that's what's coming to me now, is like a lot of people who had really traumatic Pleiadian kind of narratives in their life cycle. That's where this fear of regret is coming from. And you're coming out of this because it has a lot to do actually with the way that you feel about the past as well. Maybe you have this programming where you look at things that you could have done better, or like looking at the negative things that you've gone through. Number one, because we're conditioned to literally glorify negative experiences. Like it's like a big deal if you went through negative experiences and you withstood that. It's like, oh wow, yeah, you're such a wounded healer, or like, you know, like you went through so much. What a good person. Like it's always, and the people who had to come from nothing and achieved a lot, it's like somehow they get more applause than people who were given things or they had a good childhood. It's like somehow more important than being handed, which I like strongly disagree with, even though I myself had a really traumatic past and I came out of nothing. Like I don't think that it should be more glorified than people who were given a good set of circumstances, because even if you're given good set of circumstances, not a lot of people make something out of that. You know, most people will just stay right there, but there's people who are given that and they like spring up. So part of it is because this kind of negative past is glorified, that you are kind of holding on to some of these shadow aspects of your past, but what's happening here is you're releasing that. And what actually happens with neuroscience, and this is really important to listen to what I'm about to say right now, is that your brain will confabulate what's happening right now and what's happened in the past. Your brain literally, and this is a scientific fact, proven that your brain literally manipulates what happened in the past. Whatever you remember, especially if it's emotionally charged, and like the more that you remember something, like the details are always skewed. And I'm not even talking about Mandela effect. I'm talking about like actually your brain makes things up, and on top of that, it makes up stories about what's happening right now. So if you actually look at the sequence of data and information that streams through your brain versus what's actually going on right now, real time, your brain is actually stitching together like stuff that doesn't even make sense. It fills up gaps of data that is not even there, and that's a fact. And your brain acts like something is real time when it's actually there's a lag. So knowing all of that, the more important part of this is, and why I even brought this neuroscience up, is because when you're actually in a positive state in the current moment, whatever you think of in the past, you remember good things about the past. When you're in a low frequency state and you remember the past, you remember shitty things. And so sometimes the way to gauge where you're at in a current vibrational state is not to just look at what's going on in the environment, but you constantly have memory streams all day. Like that's basically what happens all day. You don't just experience right now, you constantly have memory flashbacks of like random things. So tune into what's the quality of the memories that you're getting and the flashbacks that you're getting. Are they like kind of neutral, or are they like negative, or are they positive memories, right? If you're on your optimal peak performance state, then you would be like those random flashbacks will actually be like happier things. So that's one of the things. But what I'm trying to say here is if you constantly get negative memories about a person, about a situation, and you actually have this resentment towards the past, that's actually saying something about your current state of frequency, and you need to shift that until what you remember is good. Like for instance, like a person, like maybe one of your parents was really shitty parent, and all the memories that you have of that parent or that relationship or with anybody else, you know, is negative, and you have a hard time forgiving them. If you actually change your current state and look at that again, you will realize eventually that you just remember the positive things. Because there's no, even if a relationship was toxic, there is no way it was like just bad. It's always a mix. And the more toxic that relationship was, the more high the highs were. Not that that's a good thing, but it's kind of like, you know, like artificial sweet. It's so sweet. And when you refine your taste buds, you choose not to like that because it's so sweet. But it was sweet. And like the crash from that, the adrenal crash from that is terrible if you get sensitive enough. So what I'm saying here is like, take sweets, for example, and not to discard the lessons. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like, once you heighten your frequency and you attune to the right future, what you remember about the past is like the fleeting moments of the sweeter moments, not to discard what you learned from the dark part of that, and you won't. And one of the biggest belief systems that you have to kind of really consciously download is that you can forget everything and forgive everything. Your Akashic records will hold what you learned. So you don't really need to cling on to anything. So I hope that whole spiel has been helpful. I'm going to quickly go through the rest of the cards because I've been taking so long. Seven of Visions, confusion. Yeah, this is the biggest energy that everyone is going through. And I will say, project for the rest of the year, this will be just a mental thing that you will have to just get used to, cognitively being confused. And I'm not going to lie, I go through this right now. And even when I preach this and like say, you know, mental confusion is just a theme, don't worry about it. Like I go through the same things, like so many choices, so many indecisions, so many quantum timelines that are presenting itself, like 30 different timelines every moment, like literally, right? Just flung wide open. And so that's just that's just the theme of timelines, of decisions. But in the environment, you have the wise woman, which is your intuition getting really strengthened. And so what this means for me coming up together is, you know, and I got this feedback as well, that I was speaking with our Arcturian council in like Livia's container, because I'm part of that container. And I asked the Arcturians like what their, you know, because she's a trans channel, I asked them what their perspective is on, you know, these career decisions that I'm making right now, because it's like really, that's the part of the Seven of Cups energy for me, is like, because I have so many options and decisions to make, and like what really is ideal. And they were basically like, you're good, blah blah blah, don't worry, it's a co-creation. And then they're like, connect more with your higher self, connect more with your star civilizations. And I'm like, you know, if anybody else heard that, they'd be like, what? Because that, like, basically if you look at my life, I'm living that. But if that message comes to me, then that means I need to deepen that, which means not only consulting that interface, that higher interface, for things that I think matters, but down to the things that don't really matter. So it's like consulting higher self and consulting light councils with the most trivial things, like down to that level. Like, what should I eat for lunch? Or like, what should I wear? Or what should I do right now? Even if it's like something that, like, what should I watch? Or what should I, you know, not only just with these higher level things, but just to everything. And that's the level of integration that you are being initiated to take throughout this confusion. And let me tell you one trick that I'm teaching myself when I'm faced with so many different decisions that it's so confusing. There's like, it's like, what do I choose? And then I realized I'm at this blessed position that I have choices. And if I really think about it, the confusion is coming from the fact that there's no obvious choice that is obviously bad or worse. The confusion is coming from the fact that every decision is like, feels equally promising. And so that's why I'm confused. Like, it's kind of like balanced. You know, if something was obviously better, then that means my other options obviously are not. But it's like how blessed it is that I have all these options and that they're all kind of pretty similar, that no one choice is obviously better, you know? And so whenever I'm confused, again, I say that to myself. And then I also say how blessed it is that I have choices. Like, not a lot of people have that luxury. And so I feel strongly this for you. And this whole thing about, you know, conversing with your counsel with trivial matters down to that level. Okay, now, the final kind of two cards that I have here, your hopes and fears, is Nine of Spells, Nine of Wands, just boundaries. And you're fearing kind of that, you know, I feel that this is on your boundaries with others and you wanting to really create this chamber around yourself. And this doesn't feel negative to me. In this deck, this Nine of Wands isn't negative. As you see, it's like a protection. So what I'm getting here is that if you feel like taking a lot of space and time for yourself, that's actually fine, right? And I will suggest, I just recorded this like stream of consciousness video for my YouTube that I'm just like venting and catching up with the YouTube crowd who I haven't connected with in a really long time. Like, if you are actually going through this phase of creating a lot of boundaries, I recommend you to check out that video that I will post. But probably it's going to be after I post. I don't know. I actually really don't know when I'm going to post either of these videos. And then on the final outcome, you have Moonlight. So what I'm getting with this Moonlight card for this month message is to seriously harness the moon's cycle this month in particular. I know that most people are pretty aware with the moon cycle because you're all spiritual people, but this month is extra potent for some reason. It's like literally like an actual like multifaceted portal this month. So I would say like harness the new moon especially and the full moon. Well, that's actually all the moons. But like what I'm getting is like definitely the new moon, which is I think around the 17th. And then I think the full moon is around the 3rd. So actually you'll be getting this video before, but then actually what I'm getting, like that full moon that is coming up after the new moon, which is the 17th. So it's be like maybe like the one in October, the full moon is crazy powerful. And I'm not into astrology. I don't check any of that, but that's just the message I'm getting from these cards in this context. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed this reading. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Love you very much. Bye.